My name is Nicky Sheats. I'm with the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. I work at Thomas Edison State University, but I'm also with the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. Well, I think as an organization, what it has reminded us and reinforced a message that we have always tried to carry is that environmental justice communities, communities of color, low-income communities that often have suffered from disproportionate amounts of pollution, that the disproportionate amounts of pollution combined with social vulnerabilities put them at added risk for the detrimental impacts of a lot of things. And I think COVID has shown that, unfortunately, because we have the article, the paper coming out from Harvard, that long-term exposure to PM 2.5 looks like it increases the death rate of COVID. We have the way that race, in a very insidious manner, increases the death rates amongst Black and brown people. And so we have said for a long time that these environmental justice communities are more at risk, and that we need to have laws and policy that address that. Yeah, well, to expand on my first answer a little bit, we see that the combination of disproportionate pollution and social vulnerabilities is obviously not a good thing. So it's reinforcing that. So it really reinforces the fact that I think the EJ community is on the right track when we talk about cumulative impacts. All the pollution, when you consider the impacts of all the pollution together with the social vulnerabilities, this is a real problem and we have to address the issue. And so what we've been saying for a while is that because of cumulative impacts, because of disproportionate amount of pollution, we have to develop policies to reduce the pollution in environmental justice communities. And one type of policy that needs to be used to address this disproportionate amount of pollution is climate change mitigation policy. So we have to formulate, or we should formulate, climate change mitigation policy in a way that ensures emissions reductions in EJ communities, in environmental justice communities. And I'm talking mainly about power plants now. I mean, we have to do that in other areas, but the most thought we've given to it so far has been in power plants, because the emissions from power plants forms part of that disproportionate amount of pollution. So we should formulate climate change mitigation policy that typically focuses on reducing carbon dioxide. We have to make sure that it's reducing emissions of other pollutants that are emitted along with carbon dioxide in environmental justice neighborhoods. And we've been saying that for a while, so it reinforces that. And hopefully other people, now they see the COVID crisis and how it's affecting Black and brown people, will realize that also. And I think the other thing this reinforces is that in general, we have to address racial issues. Because we see, again, people of color dying at higher rates, Black and brown people, in the COVID crisis than other folks. We see how insidious race is, because I wouldn't have thought that one thing that would have put you at risk, or the Black community more at risk and the brown community more at risk because of your race, is the fact that a higher proportion of us have to go out and physically be at the location where our jobs are. I'm privileged, so I don't have to do that, but a higher proportion of Black and brown people do, and that's put them more at risk. And so there are a lot of ways that race affects Black and brown people and other people of color in our society. We've been dealing with this racial issue for a long time, and we need to redouble our efforts. And of course, what's happening with the Black Lives Matter movement shows that also, but the COVID crisis shows that. And we've seen it before in the environmental field. Katrina, Flint, now this. So hopefully at some point we'll get the message. I think, and maybe we'll give them contact information so they can get a hold of us. We do need support for our policies. So especially if they are in organizations, um, public support from those organizations for our policies, individual support with their legislators for our policies, or with the governor's office in New Jersey for our policies, would help a lot. If they want to get involved in our work, that would be great also, and we can arrange that. So there are several ways they can get involved, several ways they can help us, and we can facilitate that. I'm hoping that out of crisis, something good in the long run can come, and I hope again that this shows the need to talking about the COVID crisis now, to address environmental justice issues, and I guess we will see it in the long term, if this has a long-term impact that can somehow help environmental justice communities.